Welcome to Legend Makers, the podcast where education's true heroes take center stage. All right, we are back with another episode of the Legend Makers podcast. I have with me today Dr. Jacie Maslyk. Dr. Maslyk, how are you doing today? Can I call you Jacie or Dr. Maslyk?
Oh gosh, please call me Jacie. I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing good. So we're just talking. You're in Pittsburgh. For those, I've got your bio here, and I always read off the bio so I don't make any mistakes, but I'm going to have you fill in the gaps. But you've been you're a longtime educator, you're a consultant, you are an author. I want to talk about your books. You are passionate about creativity and hands-on learning. You're in the STEM world. We were just talking about our mutual connection, Chris Woods. You've been doing this 28 years. You've been a classroom teacher, reading specialist, a principal, assistant superintendent. This is great. Now you work as an instructional coach and a consultant, and you support schools with PD, coaching, curriculum design, and you help redesign learning spaces. And this I love. So we're going to talk about this. You design learning spaces and bringing in more STEM, creativity, and hands-on learning into classrooms. You're an author, multiple books. You got STEAM Makers, Connect to Lead, Remake Literacy, Unlock Creativity, and All In.
Yes. Well, so there's two books that were done for not children's books in the sense that they're children's literature, but I have a book on engineering for early learners. So those kiddos that are 3 through 5. Which a lot of homeschool parents really appreciate. And then I also have a book that's kind of informational text. It is 500 interesting facts about engineering, but all with these really colorful images for kids to kind of read little bites about different types of engineering. Nice. I like that one more like a career path. So, when kids are in upper elementary and they're looking at, oh, well, I didn't even know that was an engineering job. Maybe I would like to build roller coasters, right? So, so two kids' books too.
Awesome. We're going to link to all of them in the show notes. So for those of you on YouTube, everything's going to be down below. If you're listening, just click into the show notes. There'll be live links to where to get those books. You also are a blogger and you run your own blog called Creativity in the Making. We'll link to that. National recognition, nationally distinguished principal finalist, journalism award winner, and last but not least, your frequent speaker at things like ISTE and FETC. I did not make it to ISTE this year. I got stuck. I literally was in Philadelphia trying to get to ISTE, and the flight was delayed, and I was only going for a day. I was going to do a day in, stay overnight, come out the night. I know. And I was like, by the time I get down there, I know I'm going to get stuck in Houston because everything's messed up. So I bailed. I was so disappointed. So I was supposed to meet Shannon and the gang. It was actually my
first time in San Antonio.
How'd you like it?
Which was awesome.
It's great, right?
I mean, the Riverwalk is such a cool kind of place to visit, and there's so much to do there.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I'm a lifelong learner for sure. I tell folks I'm addicted to learning. I always want to learn new things. So that's part of the reason why I go to conferences. But the big thing for me is people. I just love seeing my educator friends. I love walking the expo hall and seeing people that I meet there and learning about new stuff that people have. So I mean, FETC and ISTE are kind of like my ultimate every year. Yeah.
I'm with you. The interpersonal, did COVID just kill you while we were all stuck inside and sitting on Zoom?
Yeah, I mean that was tough.
It's tough, right? I mean, it's funny. I can sit at a desk and I'll be like, I'm dying. I think I got to go close my eyes. And I can be working an exhibit at ISTE or Boost or whatever. And I can be going 12 hours and I may be physically tired, but I'm mentally wired because I'm just having conversations and I feed off the energy of the people. And then I get home and, I get to the hotel and I crash. I'm just like, it's been a day. Yep. But I'm like you. I love the feed. I love the feed off the energy of the people and just get to walk around and you meet people. You see Chris, you're like, Chris. And you take a selfie with Chris and he's always hobnobbing around. I see Steve at the Victory XR and all these guys. So it's just fun to run into everybody. Well, listen, it is a pleasure to meet you. We're going to dive into everything. A little bit of background here. What do we do here? So Legend Makers podcast. Why are we called Legend Makers? First off, because I represent Drone Legends, but Drone Legends, the name is significant in the sense that we are creating what I call inside every child lives a legend. Okay, so that's why when we went to name the company, we didn't name ourselves like Drone Bots or something like that. We named it Drone Legends because inside every child lives a legend. And importantly, it's the educators that are working with the students that are actually creating the legends in their classrooms. So the Legend Makers podcast is homage to those educators that are actually making the real stuff happen on the ground, front line, day in, day out. I witness it and I'm in awe all the time because it wasn't my background. And so in fact, I was the one that you just dreaded having in your class, unless you loved a good challenge. And then it was me. So tell us, I mean, I gave kind of the written background, but why don't you kind of introduce yourself and tell people like who you are and what makes you tick, and then we'll get right into
Oh boy, I feel like that's such a big question. I think a good starting place for me is so I am from Pittsburgh. I was a teacher in Pittsburgh Public Schools for a couple years. I mostly taught kindergarten and first graders,
it.
which is what got me interested in the teaching of reading because I had these kiddos and that my responsibility was, they better read before they left my classroom at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I started studying reading. I was a reading specialist for a little while as well. Um, and as I took that next step up, sort of out of the classroom to reading specialist, I got bit by the leadership bug, I think.
Mm,
I
mm.
went back to school and got my principal's papers. And I still tell folks to this day, being an elementary principal was my favorite job of all.
Why
I
is
was an
that? Why
elementary
is that?
principal.
Tell me why.
Um,
I'm gonna cut you off. I'm sorry, but I want to know why. That you can't just let that go by. I need to know.
I feel like it's people.
Uh-huh.
I was saying that about the conferences, but so I was the principal of a K through 6 elementary school. We were mostly a walking neighborhood school.
Mm,
We had incredible parents who were supportive of education and collaborative with teachers. I had an incredible staff of a variety of ages, interests. I mean, I just had teachers who brought a lot to the table. Um, and then we had this incredible population of students who came from this community where education was valued and they were
mm.
curious and they wanted to become leaders. And it was just this really, really good gig. I used to
Yeah,
tell
it sounds
people,
it.
because we weren't a very large school district. My school had
Mm-hmm.
about 400 kids in it.
Mm.
I tell people we were like the best kept secret. Um, we just got to do great things together, and that's what fueled, I think, the trajectory that I continue to be on now.
Mm.
Um, the work that we did there is what started my interests in creativity and bringing STEM and STEAM into classrooms. And your particular mission about inside every child lives a legend really speaks to me because I bring to mind so many kids from that elementary school who we just needed to reveal their hidden potential. And
Mm-hmm.
for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them, I think that happened through hands-on learning, which is
Yeah.
why I'm so passionate about it to this day. I can think of kids in my first book, Steam Makers. I wrote about a kiddo who was he had an IEP. He was not a proficient reader. He also didn't have the greatest behavior. And a lot of the teachers struggled to connect with him. He was the kid who'd like you'd see in the hallway and you're thinking, oh, why are you in the hallway now? Well, so and so put me out, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't until we found like his thing. So he started coming to our makerspace at lunchtime. And who knew? This kid was like a dynamo when it came to woodworking. So
Uh-huh.
he would like get an idea in his head and he'd come in at lunch and he'd be in his little corner, like making things. And you're like, where did this come from? Um,
Yeah, that's
it
great.
was it was just incredible. And I think what ended up happening for him and for lots of others, people began to see them shine in such different ways that it completely changed school for
Yeah,
that kid and for so many others.
amazing. I love that because not everybody's got their thing, right? So here's this hidden talent, and it's just once you see it shine, it changes your whole perception of the person as well, right? So
Yep.
not only do you now that child's no longer the problem, the child may now be the prodigy, and it's like that was hiding right in there, wasn't it? We just had to find what makes that person move, what inspires them. It's funny to do that as an adult. But I think when we lose it, and I think the shame, you got me right here. So we all have that, especially young, right? Like there's these things that we do when we're kids and we get into the system and quit your dreaming and stop being a kid and grow up, and you lose all of the curiosity that made you a kid. And there's, if you can stop as an adult and go back and say, because, so many of us, this was my experience, you reach this like midlife and you go, what am I doing? Like, what am what, I'm a sales rep for pharmaceutical. Like, what in the world pulled me here? And you go, instead of like, what did I love to do as a kid? Like, stop yourself and think about, remember when you were little and you would get lost in something and you'd look up and hours had gone by and you're like, that's your thing.
Yep.
And a lot of us unfortunately tend to lose it. The system works it out of us as opposed to nurtures it. So I'm with you. Hands-on learning, different types of learning for different types of learners allows you to kind of nurture that and identify it and then lean into it, right?
Well, it's interesting while you're talking about like what that looks like in adulthood. So I have two sons, they're 11 and 13. I feel like sometimes I relive some of that through my boys. Like the thing that I talk a lot about chasing your curiosities, right? So like what's the thing I didn't chase? And not that I push my kids to also chase it because I want them to chase what drives them. But it's interesting how we can kind of revisit some of that through our kids. I'll tell
Yeah.
you real quickly. I have another mom friend, and we kind of joke that in the summertime we like go on adventures. So I'll text my friend and I'll say, "All right, where are we taking the kids today?" And it's things like let's go in a creek and just go on an adventure for the day. And think about the learning that comes from that, right? That's not
Yeah.
always in classroom learning. But like she's just my go-to for like what crazy thing can we do today? And we're going to take our kids along, and they're not going to be,
That's awesome.
on their technology or sitting in the house. Like we're going to go
Mm-hmm.
and learn something in the outside world. We're going to go downtown and walk by the river. We're going to, go try a new skill or a hobby, or we're going to,
Yeah.
go do a ropes course. Just whatever adventure is put in front of us. And I think that helps me as a learner do some of the things that I didn't get to do maybe
Yeah,
as a
for
kid or
sure.
a teenager.
And
Yeah.
your kids are going to benefit from it, right? Experiences. And
Yep.
even if, what I think is great is doing the little uncomfortable things too. Like, it's easy to, and I know my wife and I suffer from this a lot of times. And then when we get out and actually do it, as you get older, your little circle starts to shrink and, you're like, sometimes a good night of doing nothing is good, but too many of those gets to be not so good for you. Right. And so you're like, hey, we should do X, Y, and Z. And it's easy. It's easy in the moment to say, oh, today was such a long day. Are we really going to go and do that tonight? But if you
Yep.
just do it,
Yep.
and at the end of it, you're like, oh yeah, that was cool. I'm so glad we did that. Right. It would have been so easy to, let's just kick off, get into the fat clothes and sit on the sofa and watch, whatever, something.
Yeah.
And
So
instead you're like,
true.
no, we got ready. We went out, we did some sort of, even if it was a stupid little adventure, like went to Main Street, had dinner and grabbed an ice cream and watched people walking dogs. It's like, that was cool. So for your boys, getting them out, learning to, and you said something earlier that I think is key. And I think that it's so important is just learning to love to learn, like never stop being curious. I think
Yep.
curiosity, I heard somebody say it the other day, curiosity is a superpower. Oh, it was a
Love that.
negotiator. I was listening to a podcast, My First Million, and they were talking to a negotiation specialist. And he said, if I could take one thing away from this whole podcast, he said, it's curiosity. Be curious about the other person, be curious about the experience. Curiosity is a superpower. And I thought,
Mm.
yeah, if you can just maintain that sense of wonder and curiosity that you have as a child, because everything's new when you're a child. So you're always curious. You ask a million questions when you're a kid, right? You don't ask any questions when you're an
So I was talking to a group of educators not too long ago about this topic. And I said to them, when do you think we've schooled that out of kids? Right? Like the very famous TED Talk by Sir Ken Robinson, he talks about how creativity, schools are killing creativity. And
adult.
I 100% think that that is true in some schools. I think there
Yeah.
are other schools who are fighting against that to ensure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I was talking to this group of teachers, and they were saying, sadly, they feel like it's between third and fourth grade.
Just going to say
Right. And
that
that's so young, right? I
it's a
mean, in
transition
third and fourth
age.
grade, you're 9 or 10 years old and you're done being curious or creative. Like, but so many factors I think impact that, right? Like that's usually when most schools start standardized testing.
Yep.
So there are shifts in the curriculum that like tighten up the freedom to, step outside the line or things like that. I think that's also a point where socially things start to change where maybe like it's not so cool if I build with Legos anymore. So I'm not going to do that because
Mm-hmm.
my peers don't do that. Or, I love Legos, but no offense to Legos. I'm saying
No,
whatever it
Legos are
is, like
cool. Legos are
whatever
great.
creative thing that you might be into, I feel like
Yeah.
that starts to shift for kids at that age. And my goodness, that's just too
It's
young for that
so
to be
young,
happening.
too young, because what happens is then it sets the tone, right? Like if you turn that off at that young of an age, it's hard to pull that. And then you spend the rest of your educational experience tied to standardized tests. It's why I love, and it's so funny because you said it, and I don't think it's in some instances, but I've been so privileged to enter into some amazing educational settings because of what I do. And so the educators that use our program, I'll go visit them. Alethea, if you're listening, I always mention her classroom because it was just so cool. But there are so many, and we see them all over the place that they're showcasing what they're doing. Omar and other people that have been on here, and there's a million. I'm going to forget them all, but I'm so lucky that I get to see the innovators that I get to talk to on this podcast, and by virtue of what I do for a living, I get to meet the people that are actually like taking the step, that want to keep the curiosity going, that make these learning spaces that are designed, in fact, just the opposite of like the standardized testing models. No, it's just explore, and that's why I love Chris. We were talking about Chris Woods. I mean, Chris can find the cool factor in just about anything. He'll be walking through, you
Yes.
watch him on X, and there he is walking through the supermarket, and he'll see like a Cheeto, and he'll make Cheeto stem. Right, right,
Yep.
right. Or I always remember he had this great image of like he was walking outside and there was a little leaf with a droplet of dew on it. And he showed how the dew droplet became like a magnifier to see the leaf veins.
Yeah.
Only Chris, like Chris pulls that out. But yeah, I think it's a shame, and I think there's a pendulum swing. We are entering into a time where I think that kind of mentality is going to be really critical for success moving forward. Because let's face it, the school system as we've known it, especially my life, was designed for an industrial revolution. Let's create compliant workers model. Can you show up
Mhm.
to the right place at the right time? Can you sit still for a number of hours? Can you follow directions? Can you, when the bell, go shuffle everybody to the next class? Bell rings, shuffle every lunchtime, bing, 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 as opposed to truly learning and exploring and finding things that you're good at and then leaning into those. Because like learning's fun. Like as an adult, I'm having a blast with, like, I love a good challenge of diving into a new technology or trying to build a website or just name it. There's so many cool tools out there to use now. I mean, just getting lost in some of this, like even somebody's like Replit, Vibe Code. I'm like, I'm down. I'll go try that. And it, it's you just dive into it, but we need to keep that going.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. And I feel like that's, they say everything cycles in education. I feel like that's definitely true. When I was a building principal, right, it was in the era of No Child Left Behind. So I mean, we
Mm,
were feeling the pressure of test
yeah.
scores, test scores. And I wrote a grant. Here in Pittsburgh, we have a phenomenal organization, the Grable Foundation. It's a part of the Remake Learning Network, and they were putting out grants for folks who wanted to bring new ideas to their school. So I
Mm.
wrote this grant as the principal to recreate a space in our school. We had an empty classroom. We got this grant, and I remember my superintendent coming to me and saying, like, I'm glad that you got this. I think this is a good thing, but don't let this take you away from, what's important.
What's
And I
important
thought,
in
oh,
quotes, right?
okay. Right. So, like, I had to balance this
Yeah.
excitement around what are we going to do in this space, and what kind of materials are we going to buy, and how our teachers are going to utilize it, and
Mm.
what partners can we get from the outside to come in and
Right.
support this work. And to be honest, that's what led to my very first book, my very first book,
Hold it
right,
up.
which is Steam
Steam
Makers.
makers. Tell me about steam
And
makers.
it is really the collection of things that I learned alongside of the teachers and really parents in the school that I was in. But what was even better was we started talking to other schools in our region who were doing similar work. So, when we heard that the school 20 miles away was doing something like it, I took two or three teachers and we went and looked at it. And then we
Mm.
came back and
Hmm.
we said, okay, we don't want exactly that, but we like this part. How can we embed that into our work? And then somebody else might hear about us and they're sending teachers to come and visit us. And it just created this really collaborative vibe where like minded leaders and educators we're talking about, like, well, what's the cool thing that we can offer to kids? And, is that an at lunch club? Is it something after school? Is it,
Hmm.
we brought in parents who had STEAM related jobs to talk to our
Jobs. Yeah.
kids and just have that conversation. I had a mom, I share a little tidbit of it in the book. I had a mom who was like, well, I don't really know if this is steamy enough for you. She's like, but I do know how to sew. And I was like,
Oh, you're like, hey.
listen, I was like, we have three sewing machines. I said, come into the makerspace at lunchtime and just have like a little lunch group. And whoever comes in, teach them whatever. Like
And how did
kids
it
made
go?
pillows and aprons and like
And
they
was
learned
it
all sorts of
popular?
things.
Did they love
Yeah,
it?
kids loved they loved it. Right.
Yeah.
And they loved it because it was, so and so's mom was coming in and isn't that
Yeah.
cool? And then, we had a dad who rebuilt motorcycles. And he
Cool.
came in and talked to the
Super
kids.
cool, right?
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was a way for them to chase things they were curious about, but also be connected to like a responsible adult in the community who also had a similar interest.
Hmm.
And so those were some of the stories that started the first edition of this book.
And so hold the
I,
book up again so everybody can see it. And what are they going to find in
well,
there? These are the stories.
but listen,
Uh
this is 10 years old.
huh.
Um,
Okay.
the new Steam Maker's second edition is coming out in 2 weeks.
In two
So it will
weeks.
look different than this, and I
Yeah.
don't have a preview copy yet.
That's all right.
Um, but so the second edition will be out with a collection of stories that
Excellent.
expand beyond my hometown of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I highlight some of the friends that we have in common. I think you
Hmm.
maybe also had my friend Miss Menz Moses on your podcast.
Sure did. Oh,
Yeah,
she was amazing.
we have some great stories from her in the new
Pure.
book.
She's amazing. Yeah,
Um,
she's just awesome. She was such a great guest and she's so vivacious. Like she was just a
yeah,
joy to be
up,
around, right? The energy,
you
I
see,
could feel
I
the
raised
energy
my
through the
hand.
screen. Right.
Yeah, like
You could
uplifting.
feel her literally through
Yeah,
the screen. Like she was just
yep,
like she popped on and I just started smiling. You
yep.
know what I mean? Like it was just she's got that vibe. Like I as soon as she like you know how your screen kind of opens up on Zoom here, and I mean literally the moment she popped on that screen, like smiles. Just I couldn't. I can't tell you why. You could just feel it through the screen. It was wild. Oh, good. So she's in there. It's cool.
Well, and I think,
Oh,
I
there's
mean,
so
she's so
many.
far away, right? She's in Vegas, or
Yeah.
outside of Vegas. I
She's
would love to
Clark
be in her
County. Yeah.
classroom, right? Like
Yeah.
I want to feel that energy, and I can't imagine how meaningful it is to her students that they have someone so passionate like leading
It's
that
great.
work.
It is
Um,
so fun. I love watching
yeah,
it. So
yeah,
second edition's coming out in 2 weeks. So this is awesome. Let me ask you a question.
yeah.
I don't know that we got to it, and I'm always really curious. Like, why did you start teaching? Like, what got you into teaching in the very beginning? Like, what Was it a childhood experience? Why do you teach?
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I had a teacher, a science teacher, who recently passed away, Brother Eric. Thank you, Brother Eric, who taught chemistry and other science topics. And I just I loved going to his class. I think it was hands-on, right? So I knew we were going to go and mess with stuff. I knew we were going to tinker or experiment,
Uh-huh.
and I knew that there was going to be collaboration, right? I was going to work with my lab partner or whatever. And I loved his class. And so when I was applying to schools, I thought I was going to be a chemistry major.
Hmm.
And then I started realizing that I think the reason why I liked it so much was because of him, was because of the
Yep.
relationship of a
Yep.
teacher to get you interested in a topic. And so at that point, I still kind of always kept that love of science, but I did go into to
That
education
I've heard
because of
that
him.
story. That is, I hear that all the time. And you said something, Miss Dugan. You ever see Miss Dugan on TikTok? She's like blown up now. She's huge.
Yeah.
She said the same thing about English.
Hmm.
She was like, I thought that I loved English or history or one of the. She goes, no, no, no. I loved the teacher who taught that class that made me love it so much. And so I really enjoyed the experience of being in that person's classroom. And that's what inspired me to be a teacher. And I hear that all the time. And I think that's so important because it, you've probably had the same impact on others. I mean, you've been doing this for a while now. You ever get those emails? You ever get those calls like from the older students now that have graduated and they've since moved on and like, I just wanted to tell you. Do you get those?
Well, so I talk about when I talk to schools or talk at conferences or do keynotes, I often talk about the remember when moment. And the remember when is something that you usually get from kids, like my own children. Like
Mm-hmm.
my older son will say, "Mom, remember when you brought home that like kit and it had like straws and connectors and we were like messing around with it on the living room floor, right? Like I don't know if you know Strawbees. Shout out to
Yeah.
Strawbees. It's such a fun
Strawbees.
tool, but I brought it
Yeah.
home for my kids when it was just kind of like a prototype, basically. And my
Uh-huh.
own boys were like, this is awesome. But they remembered that.
Yeah.
Um, Not too long ago, I was in a grocery store and I heard somebody kind of like whispering and they were like, Dr. Maslyk? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, I don't know if you remember me. He's like, but when I was in junior high school, he's like, you came into our makerspace one day. He's like, with a garbage bag over your shoulder. He's like, and you brought it in and you dumped it in the middle of the room. He's like, and we were all looking at you. And at the time, I was the assistant superintendent. He's like, we're all looking at you going, what does she want us to do with this? And we had this recycling design challenge. So it was like toilet paper rolls and plastic
Yeah.
recyclables and
Like,
water bottles and
this
caps
person's
and stuff,
crazy. What is she
right?
doing?
And I said to them, "All right, you're going to get with a team, right? Here are your constraints. Here's the criteria." And they built stuff. And he's like, "I
Nice.
still remember how fun that was."
Oh, yeah,
So
cool.
like those remember when kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things, I think can be so powerful, right? Whether they launch someone into a career, right? Like Brother Eric did for me, or
Yeah.
whether it's just a kid who really pursued something that was fun and interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've even had teachers come back. I have an educator friend who makes fun of me all the time because he will tell you that my favorite challenge is the paper tower challenge. And right, you give people three pieces of paper,
Uh-huh.
about a foot of masking tape, and you tell them
Okay.
they have to build the tallest tower that they can just with those supplies. And
Okay.
it's really simple. It travels real well, so it's great to do.
Yeah,
But
sure.
some people really take it serious and can build some tall towers.
Really?
I,
Out of just like
I
eight and a
had a
half by 11 sheet of like three sheets of
Yep,
paper?
three sheets. Yep. And give them a pair of scissors because the key is
Uh-huh.
to fold it up to make the strongest little portions
Base
that
or
you can.
something. What is the
But I
coolest
had
one
a
you've
teacher
seen? Uh-huh. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go.
uh 80 inches,
Uh-huh.
almost touched the ceiling.
How do you do? Oh, yeah, I guess you strip it.
The
Strips,
the
right? Yeah.
tiniest little strips.
You keep
But there
stripping,
was a
stripping.
teacher who stood on a table and was like balancing his team's tower. And I have a picture of it that I often put in my slideshows. But I saw that guy not too long ago, and he's like, that was the most fun PD I ever had. He's like, why don't we get to stand on tables and build
Yeah,
towers
right. And
anymore?
build towers. Yeah.
Right. But it's when we create those kind of memorable,
Hmm.
again, you see a common thread here, collaborative, hands-on, right? People remember them, whether you're 6 years old or 60 years old.
Do you know, you just, and I'm going to go all over the map, but I love this pod, right? My First Million. And they have these great guests on. They have the one guy on that created Exploding Kittens, the guy of the game. You ever hear the game
Yeah,
Exploding Kittens?
I
So
have.
now they've got, that game's insane, and he has a million games. And he said this one thing that has, I'll never forget it. It stuck with me. He goes, the key to a great game isn't the game itself. He goes, it's the games that make the players interesting.
Mm.
And he goes, that's a winner. He goes, when that game forces other, so why are the big games popular, right? Pictionary, charades. Why is charade so popular? Just because people get up and do silly things. It's when you make the other players interesting, that's when the game, because you create that collaboration. You're watching other people become really, really interesting. So it's the same thing I think with like
So true.
watching others make the paper towers, right? Like, oh,
Yep.
so and so standing up on the chair. Is it going to make it? Is it going to fall over? Is it going to, that is the stuff that really sticks with you, right? That makes things, you get a vibe for it. It's
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
So
I,
that's
I
what,
do
and
think there's something to say about that. Like it isn't, maybe it's not about the game, it's about the people who are playing it. Yeah.
it's about the people that play it. Yeah. And I think a lot of that goes into learning as well, right? I mean, collaborative learning experiences, it's fun. You enjoy it. You're working into, remember the old, okay, I'm going to butcher this, but you know this. So you're going to know it better than I. It's the spaghetti and marshmallow thing, right? Where they take the kids
To make a
and then
bridge?
they put them up
Or,
against a structure. They just have to hold the
yeah.
marshmallow. And then they get like Harvard MBAs to compete against the kids, and the kids smoke them every single time because
Yeah.
as adults, we overanalyze it. Okay, you're going to be the project manager and you're going to be the this. Meanwhile, the kids just get to work and they let it organically happen. A leader emerges,
Mm-hmm.
the engineer emerges, right? The project manager emerges versus forcing people into these roles. They let it naturally happen. And at 9 times out of 10, the children, because they just get to work, beat them every time. You have a team of like, there's an attorney and this and this, and they way as adults, we way overanalyze this stuff. And that's been proven out. I think the kids just have a good time with it. Just let it happen.
I think those kinds of things, I call them design challenges. And whether
Yeah.
it's something that is just kind of for team building or if it has a content-based
Mm-hmm.
purpose, I love a good design challenge. Um, so one of the other books that I did that you mentioned, Remaking Literacy, the heart behind all of that is teaching reading and writing is hard work, but it makes it so much easier when you give kids hands-on things to support their learning in literacy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I encourage teachers to do, right? We all read books out loud to kids. We have our favorite read alouds, the stories that we love to share at carpet time. My argument just is give kids something hands-on to do with it or about it or after it or during the book,
Mm.
because that not only builds vocabulary and comprehension, it's also building their creativity, collaboration, communication skills,
Curiosity.
right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
sometimes that's a design challenge. Like I love
Yeah.
presenting books to teachers or even to kids. Actually, I was in a classroom yesterday doing a read aloud with some kids. We were working on questioning, but afterwards I thought, oh my goodness, we should probably make something connected to this particular story because that just
Absolutely.
continues the learning.
It's touch. So do you know Gavin McCormick? Do you
I
follow
don't
Gavin? Oh, you have to.
know.
Upschool.co. Gavin's brilliant. Gavin's pulled himself off of social media lately. It's a shame because I love this guy. He's based out of he's Australian. He
Okay.
goes and he does like upschool.co. So for example, if you want to, he literally will go to the Antarctica and show you polar bears when you want to learn about polar bears. He does these
Oh, cool.
experiences, and I had him on the pod, and he's a brilliant guy. He's just a super. You got to follow him. He's amazing, Gavin McCormick, and you'll find him out there. He though had the one thing, and it was experiential. He said, when you want to teach touch, there's all these little nerve endings here, And like, if you want to talk about earth sciences, then get into some dirt, right? Like feel the dirt under your fingernails. He's super Montessori based. He's got all that kind of thing, but he is just awesome. And I know, okay, now I'm going to really, I've interviewed so many people on here, but do you know Omar Cortez?
I don't.
Omar out of Dallas ISD, his wife, also a teacher, she heard that. We talked about it and she went and said, I'm going to try that. And they were growing something. And so they had to get their hands in like the dirt and soil.
Mhm.
And because kids, to your point, you can read about something and it's one thing. But then when to actually apply it, like you are now putting the words to the experience and
Yep.
it's just like I write. I like to write. I write in my book every morning. This is my favorite pen, this Zebra. Yes. And I'm a writer. I have this big book and I write every single morning for 40 minutes. I just write journal, journal, journal.
Yep.
But because I love the tactile feeling of ink on paper, it
Oh,
does. And
same.
there's studies that will show that it literally is not the same as typing.
No.
You retain because you're doing it, right? And so I try to tell it to my son. He doesn't want to listen. He's 19. I'm like, dude, you have to write. I'm like, look at your handwriting. It's horrible. I'm like, oh my God, what do you write? What is that? They don't teach him how to write anymore. It's like they're all typing and his
Yeah, I
penmanship's
completely
terrible.
agree. I carry my notebook around with me. It's where I
Yeah.
keep my ideas. It's where I write stuff so I don't forget.
And the
Um,
learning,
yeah.
when these kids feel it and they're putting it together and they're opening and closing and they're in the
Yep.
thing and they're going to make the connection. So I think with literacy, you're right. Even with literacy, you tie those things together. I love it. So that's a great takeaway. And I'm thinking about like who's listening and what might they want to know about. And some of the tidbits that you've got in your books, we're going to put in the second edition's coming out. I like the literacy
Yeah.
component too. Um, so I think about like people listening. Let's talk about these teachers that are like teachers in waiting. Like maybe there are the next generation of teachers that are on the fence. They're thinking about it. We hear a lot of negativity about the profession. There's people leaving for all kinds of different reasons. What would you say to some people that are like either on the fence or just entering into the profession? Like, what would your advice be as a seasoned pro here?
I feel like the message that I would want new teachers to hear is the same message that I would have wanted to hear as a 21-year-old, right? If you're getting into this to make a difference in the lives of kids, then move forward, like keep at it. Don't let things deter you, because there's always going to be barriers and
Mm-hmm.
challenges. And in a lot of schools these days, right, drama or what nonsense. But if at the heart of it all, if you're in it because you want things to be better for kids, then that's the right job for you. I mean, my first job was in inner city Pittsburgh public schools. Um, you know, 100% free and reduced lunch. I was there every single day because I loved my kids and I wanted something better for them. And so if that's where your heart is as a soon to be educator or you're considering studying education, yeah, I mean, to this day, I love being in classrooms with kids and I knew that was where my heart was and yeah,
Awesome. So that's it. Get into it for the love of doing it. Don't let anything deter you.
no,
That's the key takeaway. Don't let people deter you.
absolutely.
Get in and do it, right? Do your thing. Be the
Yeah,
legend maker. Go be legend makers. I love it. Hey,
absolutely.
I'm looking at the time and I want to wrap up in a few minutes and be mindful of your time. So I like, I'm a positive guy, right? There's a lot, it's easy to fall into a negativity. We're in a world that's kind of bipolar world that we live in. And there's a lot of people that are, I'm a firm believer that the world's a big bell curve. And the problem we have today is the fringes are getting all the attention, but most of us live somewhere in here. Right. And so, but I'm an optimist and I always see things through rose colored glasses. And what are you excited about in an educational context? Like what are you optimistic about? What excites you moving forward?
So I feel like there's a bit of excitement right now for me because I think the things that I love are coming back around
Mm,
again.
hmm
You had mentioned just briefly before COVID, I think we lost a lot of opportunity for hands-on learning and creativity and connectedness during that time,
hmm
but I think it's coming back. Um, I visit lots of schools. So, I mean, my role now as a coach and educational consultant is I travel to schools across the country. And I
Mm,
work in schools in right now about 14 different states. And so I'm in classrooms and I'm working side by side with teachers and I'm listening into conversations that students are having and I'm meeting with leaders and I see the interest again in bringing creativity and collaboration back into classrooms. I think there's a recognition that maybe what we had been focusing on before maybe wasn't where we needed to go. And so I see the pendulum shifting back to opportunities for teachers to be creative and to let kids, right, chase the things that they're curious about and to engage in creative thinking again. I'm seeing an upswing in schools at the district like decision making levels redesigning their spaces again and going, oh,
mm,
okay, whether it's flexible furniture or hydroponics or right drones or creating these fab labs, places where kids can get together and work on projects that are
mm.
meaningful and creative. I see that coming back around again. And so I'm hopeful for that.
Excellent. That's great. We're gonna leave it there. Where can people find you? I know I found you. Where were you on LinkedIn? Is that where we got connected, or X?
No, X. Yeah.
X.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm still on X. People can find me there at Dr.
Yeah.
Jacie Maslyk. I'm on Instagram, Jacie Maslyk. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. You
Excellent.
can check out my website, which is named after the book. So it's steam-makers.com. And
Steam-makers.com.
yeah, you can find some of the workshops that I do. You can find out how to get me to come to your school or
Oh,
organization,
nice.
and you can also have links to any of the books that you might be interested in.
Great. We're going to link to all of that. So everything will be in the show notes. So just drop down there, take a look at them. We'll put it all in there. Jacie, this has been great. I'm looking to make sure I got everything here. This has been phenomenal. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this and especially start following you and reading your books. Wonderful. Thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'll be at FETC in January. I don't know if you'll
Oh,
be
yeah,
there, but I would
I
love to
may.
connect with your audience in FETC
There you
January
go.
in Orlando.
January in Orlando, FETC. Dr. Maslyk will be there. You can meet her. You signing any books?
Oh, yeah, I'll be at the author booth. We'll have some
Yeah, there you
books
go.
there as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, go see Dr. Maslyk right there and pick up a copy of her book. Excellent. I love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.